Hi everyone, welcome back to part 6C of our Scratch series. Just like last week, if you haven't done part 6A and part 6B now, this will not be very useful to you, so you do need to go back and do those others first. Last week we finished off where we'd got our ship moving, we'd added one of the asteroids on there, and we'd added a missile to the ship. So if we run that, we can move this around. We can press the space bar to fire, but there's no collisions at all. So even if we collide with any of those, it's not going to do anything. And that's basically the last part that we need to finish off today. First thing that I'm going to do then is put a collision detection with the Meteor and the missile there. So let's go into, make sure you're definitely on. At the moment is Sprite 2. I'm going to go to events and have a when clicked. We're going to need a if then, and then we need to go into sensing. So for this one, if it is touching the missile, just careful not to move that. Okay, now the problem with that is that it would check once at the very beginning of the game. So again, go back to control, and we're going to put a forever loop around that. So now we're going to keep checking forever if this meteor sprite is touching the missile. Now, there's not much we can do with that at the moment because we only have our speed variables. So before we can do anything else, we'll go into variables, we're going to make a variable, and we'll call that score. So let's just go back to our ship for a moment, and we're going to take set the variable score to 0, and we're going to put it on that first program where we were setting the speed. Now we're going to come back to our sprite 2 here. So if that's just being hit by the missile, a few things need to happen here. We're going to have a change score by 1. I'm not going to put that in there just yet. We're going to go to looks, and we're going to hide this. So the instant that gets hit, it disappears, so it won't get hit more than once. Then we're going to change the score by 1. Now we need this to stay off the screen for a short amount of time. So what we're going to do with that is back to control and have our wait 1 second, but we don't want it to be 1 second or 2 seconds. We want it to be a little bit more random. So we're going to take this one, pick random, and let's do that, say from 2 to 5 seconds by dropping that in there. Put that just underneath that change of score. Then we can go back to looks and we can show this again. So we'll test that first and just see if we can get that working with one of them. Yeah, so that goes away, it should come back again. Now the issue is going to be later that we don't want it appearing right in the middle where the ship is or whichever. So what we're going to do is pick a position somewhere on the screen. So I'm going to, for sprite 2, I'm going to put it down to here. I'm going to go into motion, and that's its current position now. So just before we show it, we're going to put it back there. Whilst we're here, we're also going to start doing that at the very beginning of the game as well. So that way then, when we start the game, our player starts in the middle, and the asteroids will all start somewhere around the outside. So if we start that off there, we stop it, and we start again, it always starts at least around the outside of the screen, but we don't know which direction it's going to be going in. So next thing that we're going to want to do there is go back to our ship, because we're also now going to start putting some lives on this. We need to do basically the opposite of what we've just done. So we're going to variables, make a variable, I'll call that lives. And again, now on this first one, we've set the speed, we've set the score, and we're going to set the lives not to 0 this time, but to 3. So this time we need something very close to what we've just created here. So if we start off in events, So when the flag is clicked onto control, we're going to have an if then. We're going to go into sensing. Now it's not quite the same as the other one, because if we tell it to do something when it's touching sprite 2, when we've got more of these, sprite 3, sprite 4 and so on, we'd need more programs. So we're just going to use the colour on this one. So if it's touching the colour, so we click inside that colour, get the dropper tool there, and go over, and it'll magnify for us there, look, right on that green. So now we're saying then, if our ship is touching that colour of green, right, so a few things need to happen there. We're going to go to looks, we're going to hide the ship. Then, on our variables, we are going to change the number of lives by -1. Then we are going to move, because we are starting at 0, 0, so we're going to take that again. So we're going to go to 0, 0. Just going to wait a short amount of time this time, so it's maybe just 1 second that we're going to be there, and then we will bring that back out again. So we'll show the ship again. And again, just like before, we don't want it to just check once, we want it to keep checking. So on our control, take our forever loop, and we just need to make sure that that goes around side of our if then. So if we give that a try, what we're going to try and do now is see if we can just crash. There, once we crash into that, and then our ship comes back again each time. I'm just going to change these two around, I think. Let's wait 1 second, then go to the center. That way the player knows exactly where each of those are coming from. Now I'm going to go to sprite 2. Just because of that hide and show there, if we go to looks, right before the very, or maybe just at the start there, we've got the go to. Let's put a show onto there. Go back to the ship. We'll do the same there again, because we're hiding and such like with these. It's a good idea right at the very start, just to make sure that we're showing any of our sprites, and it'll save any problems if the game gets stopped halfway through or something like that. So if we call this one, we'll call it Meteor 1. You could call it Asteroid 1, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to right click and duplicate. If you're on a Mac, control click and duplicate. And we're just going to do that a few times. So let's have 6 of those. What we need to do now, I'm just, as quickly as I can, just going to try and press that. They're all coming to different places there. So let's take Meteor 2, Meteor 3, Meteor 4, Meteor 5, and Meteor 6 there. So we just space these around a little bit. What we want to do with each of these then now is where it is now is where we want it to actually be. So I'm going to do with these is go to motion. If we just take a quick look at those numbers, that's what we need to put in here. So -215 and 78, and the same there. -215 and 78. And ideally we need to do that for each of these. So you can read the numbers off all of those. -206 -139, and the same there. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them now, so the other 3 you can complete with those. Alternatively, you could take those out before you copy that one and then just put them all in on each of these. So it's not going to work perfectly at the moment, but it will work well enough for what we need it to do. And then the last thing that I might want to do with these is just have some of these at different speeds. So it could be that one of them is a very slow one. Leave that one at 5 maybe, leave that one at 5, let's put that one at 4 and another one again at 3. So it just makes things a little bit more unpredictable because they're going at different speeds here as we move around and try to dodge around them. Well, the last things I'm going to do here, just looking at this now, we've got all of these on, I would like that slightly smaller. So let's try changing the size to 50%. We double click that, gives us something a little bit smaller. So we're okay with that. You might want it somewhere around there, but you choose whichever you feel is best for any of those. Last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new sprite here. So just paint there. So we need a colour we haven't used before. So don't use green or purple, because otherwise when these crash into it we'll get different points there. So I'm just going to go for like a dark blue colour. If we get the square tool, we don't need an outline. And then just down here I'm going to draw a rectangle just on the bottom. Let's go back to the code, and then we're just going to move that just so it's on the bottom of the screen. And that will give us somewhere then that we can just put our 3 variables. So I can just mix those around a little bit there. And the final one then. So what's going to happen with these is every time it hits one of the meteors, we lose a life. So now we need something to decide when the game's actually over. So we'll go to events. When the green flag is clicked, again we're going to want a if then. We're going to need an operator, and we're going to use the less than. So we're going to say when it's less than 0, so they've used all 3 lives up, we get hit one more time and that's the end of the game. So we're going to variables, we can take lives and drop that in there and put onto that one. And once that happens, then we're going to hide the ship. So that means that people can't try to continue playing or anything like that with it. And on, I think it's on events, possibly no, possibly on control. That's it, we want this one, stop all. And finally, so that this keeps on running throughout the game, we're going to need to put a forever loop around the outside of that. And then let's just test with these. So we need to try and get hit 3 times if possible. That's when there was 0 lives, and this one should be our last one. Yeah, and the game stops at that point then. Basically, that's the overall finished game on each of these. So thank you, and see you again next time.